All right, let's go. All right, Tim, let's go.
All right, so Cindy, we're taking some more questions from Facebook and social media, so you got the first one.
All right, Miles Shiles, I believe that's pronounced like that, from Facebook. He would like to hear a few stories, Dad, about a player of yours on the Bruins, Al Secord.
Boy, I'll tell you, he was the first round draft choice. I wrote it down. I knew you were going to ask me this question. He was drafted by the Bruins first round in 1978. Fought Kenny Linsman 3 times, the Bruins.
I was surprised when you said that because he's sort of a small guy, isn't he? Kenny
Small guy? Oh, Kenny Linsman.
He's a little rat, though.
He's a rat, though. He deserved
small
it.
Guy, though.
Well, do you remember those back in the 70s, the Bruins Flyers rookie games? They were just like it was like a mixed martial arts card. Every fight.
Yeah, it was more fights in that game. You won't see them. You go to the games now, you won't see many fights in the games. We should be with Ryan Reeves. Maybe in the exhibition games there will be a few fights.
Yeah. Well,
Kenny Linsman's one of your Kingston boys, right?
Was for Kingston. In fact, he was one of the guys that we will get to Al Secord. He was one of the guys that.
We'll talk about that one day. He sued the NHL because at one time the NHL draft was older than, I think it was 20. And then he sued wanting to be drafted at 18 and won the suit.
Anyhow, we forget about him. You go up high, and Bobby Clark was up there too. And we almost got into a fight, Bobby Clark and I. And as a rookie season, he had 16 goals.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, but
here's the thing I remember about Al. He was a big guy, right?
He was a big guy.
And I bet you I know what you're going to say.
So he started to wear a helmet.
Helmet thing.
Oh.
And he did look a little...
He had a big head.
So I asked you, I said,
that helmet looked really small on his head.
I asked you, I said, who had a bigger head, Al Secord or Terry O'Reilly? So I remember one time Terry O'Reilly came on the ice, and he had Stan Jonathan's helmet on, and like it was like 2 inches above his ears. He couldn't put it down anything. Everybody was laughing at it. They said they'd have to get a garbage can and melt it down.
We could have got them.
So how did you tell? Is there a story behind how you got the helmet off of him?
Oh, okay. So
he comes
from Espanola.
Yeah.
And Ontario.
Really far north.
Oh, is that right? Really sounds far.
And his mom was coming down and everything like that. So I says, listen, if you don't wear a helmet in the Toronto game, I'll play you on the power play. First power play, you'll play in the power play.
So you must have been in playing Toronto, and it's going to be on Hockey Night in Canada.
Yeah. What does he do? He gets in a fight with Dave Hutchison. Dave Hutchison was one of the best fighters in the league. Oh, he was big too. He was
taller than Al.
So were you a little worried?
I worried. I said, guys, get ready. I said, because I'm not going to see him hurt.
So if he got the upper hand, you were going to send the guys over?
I was. Listen. If Dave Hutchison had knocked him cold, which I expected to happen because
we would have seen a bunch clearing brawl on Hockey Night in Canada.
You would have seen a beauty. I said, get ready, guys. And then all of a sudden, he was a left-hander, Al.
Oh.
Yeah, he was a left-hander,
and
he nailed him with a left-hander. And and Dave Hutchison went to his knees. I said, okay, boys, relax. But we were going.
So he played for you for a while, then you left, and then he got traded to Chicago, right?
I got traded to Chicago.
And he played on a line with Dennis Savard and Larimer and Secord. And that was one of the best lines.
Yeah. Imagine you had that line now.
Well, you couldn't afford it.
No, you couldn't afford it.
So the 81, 82, 82, 83 season, give Al what his stats were.
Now listen to this. This is hard to believe. Last 50 goal scorers who didn't wear a helmet.
So
50 goal scorers. 81, 82, and 82 and 83 season with the Hawks had a combined total of 98 goals, 483 minutes in penalties, and 44 fights. I wonder why he had time to score all the goals.
Yeah, that 44 fight. We thought that's three games worth
Yeah.
of penalty minutes.
Yeah, he was.
That's
he
a
was-
well-
Can you imagine that? In 2 seasons, he had 90 goals and 44 fights. I don't think anybody even come close to that.
Yeah, imagine that. 483 minutes in penalties. That's
Yeah.
what the ones against me. 44 fights. 44 fights.
And he fought the tough guys too.
And he didn't fight any small guys either.
So let me ask, do you remember the first game he played against the Bruins? Was there a fight? Who did he go after? I wondered.
Oh,
I remember one time you weren't on the ice. I was there, and him and John Winston had a fight in practice.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
you know
really
what,
had-
Dad? You had rough practices. There was always a lot of
I
fights
had to be
going
on. I never missed a practice.
because they would fight. They were like pit bulls that were just ready to go.
You know that deal that they have a deal in the corner. You throw a puck in the corner, and the guy
They got to battle to get it out.
got a bad battle to work your way. I couldn't have that.
You couldn't do it.
No, I couldn't do it because one would go after the other, and the first thing you know, there'd be a fight.
Well, Secord and I was up because I was on the ice. Like it was me and some of the other kids were skating around. It was before the practice, and I don't remember how it started, but you could tell. Like this was going up, and then they started to go, and not a lot of punches were thrown, and the players just stood there and watched.
Oh, yeah,
they wanted to
you-
see who's going to win. So Bobby Schmatz came up to me and he says, "You're the closest thing to the coach, so you go break it up."
I could see Schmatzy saying that.
Yeah. Mutzi and I used to have a lot of fun. But you know what gets me though? I can't get over this. I know the 44 fights and the 98 goals, but 483 minutes in penalties? That's unbelievable. Anyhow,
Well, when he retired, he became a pilot. So he's a pilot for United Airlines.
he was the captain. I don't know what airline he was with.
United. He was
United? Anyhow, he was a captain, and he was working on that. And Al Secord, he was a great guy.
How much
And-
you think he'd be worth today?
Geez, can you imagine that? Let me just say it again, okay? 98 goals, 483 minutes in penalties, and 44 fights. He'd be
year.
a 10 million guy. And boy, I tell you, I thought he was great.
Dad and Cindy, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Spreads.ca. They're a Canadian-owned online casino and sportsbook. And if you sign up now and use the promo GRAPES, they'll match your deposit up to $250. You get 10 spins on the big wheel for some big dough. If you get 3 of your jackets and your first sports bet, they'll spot you $25.
Pretty good.
Yep, and this is their time now. Baseball's on, and you and I were talking about the Blue Jays the other night. This is Sunday morning. They won yesterday. What a
How
crazy!
could that guy run in?
I imagine if you're Seattle, and so
Well,
the Jays.
tell a story.
So the Blue Jays are fighting Seattle and Texas for the last wild card spot, and the Red Sox are at they're out of the playoffs, and the Jays they're losing 2-1 and 2 out, and there's a guy on third, so they hit the ball. So the guy hits they hit a routine ball to the center fielder of Boston, and he starts to run in. And then realizes the ball's over his head, and it goes sails about 10 feet over his head. Jays tie it up, and then win in overtime.
Yeah, they should never have won that game.
No.
Anyhow,
No.
they won that game.
So, Dad, we got another question from Facebook. This is Don. I'm a big Amerks fan, so that's our Rochester Americans. My dad took me to the game where you won the Calder Cup against Hershey. You beat them 6-2. I still remember seeing Al Arbour playing with glasses. Do you have any stories about Al Arbour? He won 4 Stanley Cups with Islanders, we'll mention too.
Yeah, by the way.
What was it for? It was the funny thing about Al. He did wear the glasses. He was the last guy that I know in the National Hockey League that wore glasses. And he stuck a stick out in front like that and ran up the stick and corked him. And boy, there was blood everywhere. And it was on his glasses. So he makes a change, but he had an awful time with his glasses. They with the blood on them.
Smeared, try to get the blood. I've known blood smears, right?
Yeah. He was trying to get the. So we finished our shift, and we come to I was in, and I was sitting beside Al, and and Sly comes over to make the change. He figured. And he's, come on, Al, hurry up, there's going to be a breakaway. Anyhow, there was blood everywhere. And I remember Jimmy McKinney. Jimmy McKinney is a great guy now. In those days was a wild, I don't know why he was wild, but he was wild. Anyhow, in our room, and Daryl Slides in our room, and we were in there. And you
were telling me the story. Al Arbour was going to take Jim McKinney under his wing, and he says, he says, if you listen to me and follow what I do, he says, you'll make the National Hockey League. So just watch me on the ice. And McKinney says, what, flopping around on the ice, blocking shots like you? And he, no, I'm not doing that.
I remember laughing at that. Little did I know the next day.
So let me ask you though, Dad. So Al Arbour, I think most people remember him. 4 Stanley Cups with the New York Islanders as a coach. Did you think he was going to be a good coach? Can you tell he was going to be a good coach back in those days?
No, I didn't think he was going to be a good coach. I remember he used to take over the practices, and when Joe couldn't be, we heard that Al's taking over. He's going to be skate us at the start, skate any practice that he had. We always worked twice as hard.
You know what I hate to say? You know what I remember about Al? Because I was really young back then. He kind of reminded me of He scared me because he reminded me of Frankenstein. I don't know why.
He had the glasses,
and he kind of the square head and everything like that. But I was always afraid of him. But you were good friends with all the families were good friends back then, right?
Yeah, but I was good because she was my age, was Joanne, and we would go down, especially around Christmas time, because we were off at school, and go skating before and after you guys practice and everything. I remember one time the Ice Capades were in town, and we're waiting for your team to get off the ice, and you and Al were the last ones off the ice, and you saw the Ice Capades people watching you. Well, didn't you and Al pretend you were figure skaters? And you were out there and you were skating.
Could we do it?
Oh, it was unbelievable. You were holding hands and you were in sync skating, and then you twirled them around, and then you could see the Ice Capades people were getting perturbed and you making fun of them. And then one time you even jumped in the air and twirled and landed, and it was just incredible the way you were holding and going around like on one skate with your leg up in the air. And of course, Joanne and I were just killing ourselves laughing. And the Ice Capades people did not think it was funny, I got to tell you. And they left in a huff.
I didn't know I was that good at skater.
Just think, you and Al went to the National Hockey League, both won Coach of the Year. But I remember one time you were a little mad at him.
Yeah.
It was in the island, and you used to have Frosty Forrestal fill out your lineups.
Yeah, and
you traded Davey Forbes, who was 14, and you brought in Bobby Miller, who was wearing 14.
That was it. Yeah. We had 14. He put 14, and he put in
Davey Forbes, and it should have been Bobby Miller
because he was used to that.
Yeah,
Davey
because
Forbes.
he'd been doing it for so long, and
Al caught it.
And he told a referee. I mean, I caught
squealed.
him too, once before, and God, I couldn't
squealed
believe
on
that.
you.
And Wes McCauley came over and he said, "We got a little trouble here, Don." I says, "What's the trouble?" He says, "Take a look at your animal." As soon as I look at it, I said, "Oh boy." And Bobby Miller family was watching back in Bellerick, and it had to be Bobby Miller.
Right, it was his first game.
First game back, and everybody's watching. So I said, "Bobby, go to the dressing room." He says, "Well, Graves, what did I do? I didn't do anything. I hadn't been on the ice yet." He says, "Go to the dressing room." So. But
John McCauley helped you out, right?
Oh, and he says, "Look," he says, "I'm going over and I'm going to cause a big disturbance at the penalty box." and sneak him off the side of the thing. Oh,
So that's what he did, because I remember watching the game. He was, John McCauley went over to the penalty box and was making a big thing. So all the cameras and everything were on John McCauley. I'm thinking, and I remember the guys are going, I don't know what John McCauley's so upset about. And then you just caught Bobby Miller getting off the ice.
Bobby Miller couldn't believe what he did. He hadn't even been on the ice yet, and he'd been thrown out of the game. And it was Al Arbour that did that. I couldn't believe it. Al Arbour, my friend, Al Arbour, instead of coming to me and saying, and everything like that. Anyhow.
So did you guys get a penalty?
We got a penalty on it, and believe it or not, well, he didn't score anyhow, so it didn't make any difference. But imagine
Did
Al
to
Arbour.
Bobby Miller.
Yeah, it did to Bobby Miller. Boy, did I hear about that. And I remember looking at Frosty Forrestal, just kind of giving him the eye like that, and he had a towel over his head.
What did Harry say?
Harry never said a word. Never said. That's how good friends we were. And because I was supposed to be the one that was filling it in, but Frosty had been filling them in since the glory days.
Okay, Dad, we got some breaking news. Mike Babcock resigned as coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yeah, I can imagine that. You ask for some pictures that's on your cell phone, and you get fired. He resigned, actually.
He resigned. Well, he won't get paid now.
No, I know. He'll get picked up, though, halfway through the season, though.
Do you think he'll get, like a lot of people saying this is it for him, he'll never get another job?
No, he'll get another job.
Yeah.
Yeah, team's going lousy.
But, Dad, we were talking about this a little while earlier. He has done a lot of bad things. Like, he didn't dress Mike Modano to get his 1500th game with Tendy, and the whole thing with Jason Spezza.
Spezza, yeah.
That, Jason was...
I couldn't believe he did that with Spezza. I mean, what did Spezza ever do? How could anybody do anything against him? It was just a training camp.
Right. So then the first game, Babcock didn't dress him. And in case people don't know what happened was, just give a quick thing because people might not know, that a podcast called Spit and Chicklets came out and said that Babcock was asking for players to give them their cell phone so he could look through their cell phone at pictures. And that's what it came out as. That was the first thing that came out. Then it came out that Boone Jenner, who was the captain, said, no, we were talking about families, and he asked me to, show a picture of my family, and I showed him, and he said he showed me pictures of his family. And Johnny Gaudreau, Johnny Hockey, he said the same thing. He says, but I didn't feel pressure. I didn't feel it was... No. And
but it's too easy, Tim. But I went there, he just didn't feel comfortable. He just didn't. He just didn't feel comfortable, and this is a good way of getting out.
Yeah, because Dad, if he yelled at a player, anything he did was going to be and he said that there was a press release. He said, upon reflection, it has become clear that continuing as head coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets was going to be too many distractions, right? And Babcock said in the team release, while I'm disappointed not to have the opportunity to continue the work we've begun, I know it's the best interest of the organization for me to step away at this time. I wish everyone in the organization well in the upcoming season.
Well, good luck to him. And
But you were kind of the opposite, eh, Dad? The players would come over, to the house in the summer. Mom went into the wives' room with the wives, and Mom and I and Cindy went on vacation with some of the players' wives, and it just seemed that he was the exact opposite.
When he had the press conference, remember when he had the press conference, it was like he knew everything, and the reporters were stupid.
Right. It was like, because we were talking this morning with Cindy, and she says, well, it's kind of like John Tortorella, but it's not. John Tortorella is like...
He used to fight with the reporters.
Yeah, but Babcock had an air of,
He had that air about him, and,
I'll tell you the one thing, though, Dad, but he did a lot. The thing he did with Jason was really bad, and the thing he did with Modano was bad. But the thing that bugged me the most?
What?
Was when he was coaching the Leafs, and they lost to the Bruins. Remember that? The Bruins came back and won. And I was in shock right?
Yeah.
Like everybody, the whole Leaf Nation was in shock,
Yeah.
pulling their hair out. And he kind of went on, well, it's a learning experience. Like,
Good, they got a good team. I remember him saying they got a good team.
we'll learn from this. And I just would have liked to seen him more upset. I don't know. Maybe that's.
Well, I don't know. It's too bad he's gone. He got 8. What did he get? 8. How many years did he get from the Leafs? He was
Yeah,
with the-
something like what, 8 years or something
Yeah.
like that. You got a lot of money from him.
A lot of money for doing nothing. Now he'll do nothing again for a while, but he'll get hired again. You watch.